I have in the past been dismissive about the issue of unjust police shootings. I realized that I was wrong to be dismissive. I've come to this realization over time. The last few months have solidified it for me, especially. I think there is a problem here. There's an issue. In the past, I've basically taken the position that there's not a real issue. It's all just hysteria. And I still maintain that there's a lot of hysteria mixed into this, clouding the picture. But still, when you sift through that, there is definitely an issue. There's a problem. So I was wrong. Let's just start by looking at some recent episodes. Most recently, from just last week, police were responding to a shooting at a mall in Alabama, and in the process, they killed an apparent innocent man, Amantic Fitzgerald Bradford, who, according to witnesses, was trying to direct shoppers to safety. He was trying to help, and he got killed in the process. And to make matters worse, they apparently shot him in the back 3 times, according to an autopsy report. Now, this was an independent autopsy. The police did not admit this. They have been not very forthcoming about this case. But according to that autopsy, he was shot in the back 3 times. An innocent man shot in the back 3 times. He did have a gun. He himself had a gun, but he was carrying it legally with a permit, so it's a bit reminiscent of the Philando Castile shooting. It was another man legally carrying a gun, not trying to harm anybody, and yet was shot and killed by police. If you follow the trajectory here, it doesn't make the police look very good in this case. So originally, they said that the suspect in the shooting had been killed. And then a day later, they said, okay, actually the guy that we killed probably was not the shooter. And then a few days after that, they said, well, he wasn't the shooter, but he was brandishing a gun. And then, in fact, in a statement issued by the police department, they said, we can say with certainty Mr. Bradford brandished a gun. But then later that same day, they clarified that the victim, Bradford, maybe didn't actually brandish a gun, maybe he just had a gun in his hand, which is not the same thing as brandishing one. Apparently he had the gun legally, and according to the family and witnesses, he was trying to help other shoppers. So there was a similar case to this a month before. So in early November, there was an armed security guard, Jamel Roberson, was killed by police after attempting to detain a shooter at a bar in Chicago. He was doing his job and police killed him. There's a big problem here because how are we as gun rights advocates, how are we supposed to make the case that a good guy with a gun can stop a crime if police are just gonna show up and shoot the first person with a gun that they see when they arrive on the scene? So these are cases that, as gun rights advocates, these are cases that we should be really paying attention to. First of all, because innocent human life has been taken, but also there's an issue here with gun rights. If police are killing legal gun owners, that's a huge issue. And it does seem rather conspicuous that gun rights advocates, for the most part, say nothing about these cases. For the most part, gun rights advocates say nothing when police kill legal gun owners. Now, the month before this, so we've got December, November, now this was back in October, maybe late September, a man named Botham Jean was in his own home, in his apartment in Dallas, when an off-duty cop came into his home and shot him to death. Now, she has since been charged with murder. She claims that she accidentally went to the wrong apartment and she thought he was an intruder, and so she was barking commands at him and he wasn't obeying the commands, because God forbid you fail to obey the commands of an intruder who just came into your home, which she was the intruder in this case, and then she just killed him. These are cases from just the last 3 months. And there are plenty of others from recent times that have been equally as egregious. I mentioned Philando Castile. Tamir Rice was a 12-year-old child with a fake gun, shot and killed by police. Last year, there was Daniel Shaver in Arizona, an unarmed man who was shot and killed by police while crawling on the ground, literally begging for his life. And that's not an exaggeration. It's on video. You can watch it. He was on the ground, crawling, begging for his life, and they shot and killed him. You can look at these kinds of cases, as I have done in the past, and say, well, these are isolated. These are isolated cases. And you could say most cops aren't killing innocent people. The statistics show that this is a non-issue, really. First of all, I would submit that 3 innocent men gunned down by cops in 3 months is enough of an issue already. This is an issue that's hard to quantify with statistics. There was a study done a few years ago that found that the government has been undercounting the number of civilians killed by cops. So the numbers and figures are unreliable. We are left then to look at individual cases. We are left with the anecdotal stuff. And I think there's enough of that to show that we have a problem.